Yes.
Let's go. Few surprise cuts.
Right.
Yeah, we're gonna get there, man. We're gonna get there. We're gonna let the room load a little bit. And we're gonna get there, bro. But yeah, Saturday night, of course, me and my sidekick over there, Colt, had a whole nice show lined up for you guys. We had I had my crayons out. I was coloring. I had my pens and pencils and rulers out, making up stuff. And then all of a sudden, what do the Buffalo Bills do? What does Brandon Beane do to all of us? He drops this massive extension to Tre'Davious White. But we'll get into that. I'm going to let a few more folks get in here. As always, I'm DM3. You can reach me on Twitter at DM3_BIB. This guy over
Other way. Yep.
right there.
There he is.
This guy right over here. That's Mr. Colt. You can reach him at _Schroeder on Twitter. So, I mean, let's get into it. All right. So everybody's been waiting. Everybody's been saying, what's going on with Trey? Why does he take down his social media? Why did he delete his Instagram page? Why is he sending Brandon Beane tweets saying, are you handing out checks? I see the boss got paid. And he got paid. He's the highest paid cornerback in the NFL right now, and we can get into some specifics, but to me, this is a good deal for the Bills. This is really a good deal for the Bills because in 3 years, when this money's going to matter the most, when the salary cap goes back up and we have to pay Josh and Tremaine Edmonds and things like that, this contract is not going to be he's not going to be the highest paid corner. So this is a smart deal to get this done right now. So everybody that was freaking out, all of Bills Mafia that was freaking out, a few days ago, there was some talk that conversations had stalled, but Brandon Beane got it done. 4-year deal, $55 million guaranteed. Most guaranteed money in the NFL. Most guaranteed. He passes Byron Jones of the Dolphins as far as guaranteed money for a corner. What was your initial reaction, Colt, when you saw that this went down?
Well, I mean, I was just getting pissed off because they were refusing to release the friggin' roster. I'm like, it's like an hour later. I'm like, what's this 4 o'clock? Why do we say 4 o'clock if you're not going to release this roster out? And then, of course, here comes like, oh, we still love you because you just did the greatest thing you could have possibly done for this team and locked up Trey White, right? So great team-friendly deal. It's going to be a great deal for him, right? Because, like, if you look at that Mahomes deal being 10 years, he gets huge money, right? But the salary cap's going to go up and up and up and up, and eventually his contract might be, like, middle range for a quarterback, right? This way with Trey White, before he hits 30, he's going to get another shot to get himself paid at a much higher number probably. So I love it, man. Awesome. And he gets a core guy, right? This shows what Beane's going to do.
Yeah, so, we've been preaching all along. Let's see what happens when Beane re-signs his guys. And I can see right now there's 25 of you guys in here. If you guys can all smash the shit out of the like button. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the little bell and don't forget to subscribe. But, first we had Dawkins, which is a core player, right? Left tackle, franchise left tackle. And now you have your franchise cornerback, arguably the best player on the Buffalo Bills team. So I think it's a win-win. I think that it's going to make Trey happy. And a lot of people are worried about his, training camp performance. I'm not worried about that at all. I think he's going to earn every penny that he's going to get, and I think it's very well deserved. Kawan Green says the Bills are finally signing and keeping their own. This is not the same old Buffalo Bills. I will say that. Yeah, I'll say that again. This is not the same old Buffalo Bills. This is probably one of the smartest general managers that is in the NFL. He knows how to structure contracts. People are worried about the money. I think I saw with incentives it can get up to $82 million, but you got to think the salary cap's going to go down next year, but the year after that it's going to come back. 2022 it's going to come back. 2023 it's going to get even higher. So this is going to be he'll still be one of the top paid corners, but he won't be the top paid corner. And then this, before we get into the roster cuts, because this is kind of brought up in our group chat, does this concern anybody? And I'll put it in there for I'll put it in there for the comments. Does this concern anybody with us being able to pay not just Josh but Tremaine Edmonds? What do you think, Colt? Are you concerned that we have money now to do that?
Well, it's not actually those two I'm mostly concerned with right now. Now my immediate attention probably goes to what do we do with Milano now? right? Like,
Right.
how are we going to pay him, right? Because he's truly the next guy up, right? If we're going to look at like the next guy that we want to potentially keep, yes, Josh is going to come up. We'll have more money by then. Also, we could push him out a little bit, and after next year, you won't have Star's contract on there, right? That's going to free up $10 million. You know, you're going to have extra money after that. But yeah, it's some serious concern, but I think you got to still do it, right? And you got to believe that if this team starts winning, Edmonds is going to give you this kind of deal. Josh is going to give you this kind of deal where they're like, hey, let's do 3-4 years. We'll pay you pretty much all guaranteed type of money. And then in 4 years, you get to revalue yourself in the market again, right? I mean, it's good for the player as well.
Yeah. Ryan Thomas, my guy, what's going on, man? If you guys haven't checked out the Thomas Take, Ryan does a great job on his podcast. Trey White has exceeded expectations. He has walked and is the best player on the team since day one. So well deserved. Great comment, man. I agree 100%. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't sign Diggs this year, I mean, we're saying White's the best player on the team, right?
Right.
I mean,
Mike Plasecki, contract don't kick in until after his rookie deal ends, so we really have for 6 more. Yeah. So we got him this year, next year, and then the 4-year extension. So I mean, the money doesn't kick in for a couple years, so that's good. So people worried about the salary cap next year, this isn't going to affect that really at all because Trey's going to make what Trey's going to make next year, regardless of this extension or not. He was going to make what he was going to make. Vinny T says, this is a definitive walk move for Brandon Beane. If anyone had any doubts left about him, they shouldn't after this. Yeah, like, I think everybody was ready to see what Brandon Beane was going to do when these draft picks from the beginning of the McDermott Beane era came up on contract extensions, how he was going to do it. We saw what he does with free agency. We saw how he manipulates the money to where it's not just player friendly, but it's team friendly. And he's doing the same thing with these guys. He gave Dawkins a nice contract, which in 3 years is going to be a middle of the road contract. But right now he's a high paid player. He guaranteed money with Trey, the highest amount that's going right now. So yeah, absolutely. So, all right, let's get into the roster.
I think Ryan, again, he said Milano's the next guy. I really wonder, based on the market of position, what Milano's representation will demand. So, like on Sports Track numbers, they had Tre'Davious White at 17.2. We just put him at basically 17 million, right? They got Milano at about 13 million. So we're looking at maybe 13 million a year if we want to keep Milano around.
Yeah, and then you got to think too, what does Edmonds get if Milano gets 13?
Right.
We're talking 15 to 18.
Yeah, I mean, get rid of some money from some of these veteran guys that we paid too much soon, but still.
Yeah, you got to think Star's contract is coming off.
Trent Murphy, right?
Yeah, you got Star on a rookie deal still. You'll have AJ Epinesa on a rookie deal, so it'll be there. The money will be there. Patrick says, let Milano walk, replace and draft, save the money for Edmonds and Allen. That could be an option. And like I said all along, it's kind of like a catch-22 when you draft really well because these guys perform for you. They perform early, and then, they're going to want to get paid later on. So it's a catch-22.
So if that's the case, right, we start running into that where we start really having to consider losing these core guys that we truly like and he's drafting. Is Beane going to turn into the guy that he starts trading these guys? No, he knows he's not going to be able to sign them. Like Milano's last season, he says, I should move Milano while his value's high. I know I'm not going to be able to pay him.
I mean, you can, but then you're going to have to do that every 3 or 4 years, right?
I know, right? If you're good at it.
Yeah, and if that's the cycle you're getting into. So
that's a good problem to have, right? I mean,
so we were talking earlier about the roster because this thing is fluid, right? 53 is not the final end-all, be-all. Walk into week 1, 53-man roster. There's going to be some moves that are going to be made as early as tomorrow. People were freaking out about Andre Roberts. People were freaking out about Dean Marlowe. I freaked out about Andre Roberts until I scrolled down my Twitter feed for about 3 minutes and saw that Matt Perino had tweeted out that he's going to come back tomorrow because he doesn't have to clear waivers. He's been in the league for 4 years, and if you're in the league for 4 years, you don't have to clear waivers. And same with Dean Marlowe, I believe, and also Evan Boehm. So they're coming back. There's probably a plan to keep somebody else. They didn't want to risk putting out on waivers, so they knew these guys couldn't be signed elsewhere, so they're bringing them back. So let's break down. We'll go position by position. I've got the Bills handy dandy sheet of when they finally released it at like 5:15 of who they cut. I mean, I was looking at the New York Jets players, the Washington team. I was looking at their players. I was looking at the Carolina Panthers. Everybody had released everything, and then the Bills finally released. So we'll start with the somewhat of a surprise. I know you picked him to make your 53, and that's Davis Webb.
Yep.
So
hey, how many did you end up missing, by the way?
We'll get into that because I haven't actually calculated the math. I think I missed like 4 or 5, but
okay.
We'll get into who made the team, and then we'll start talking about our projections.
Right off the bat, I lost Webb. Yeah, I was now. Webb's been around for what? This is his 3rd year probably, so he's going to end up being a guy that has to clear the waivers.
Right.
So we'll see if he's still around, and maybe they just. I understand this is going to be crazy, right? Because we don't know what this is truly going to look like yet. Now these GMs have to be like, oh well, this guy I can just let go, and I can re-sign him if I want to, and just tell him, hey, but I need to just let you go, but I'm going to sign you back tomorrow. This guy I got to let go through waivers, so maybe I should keep him right now, right? So it's like it's real up in the air, but I get it. Like I said during the show, right? I wasn't going to be like hurt if we didn't. This is actually even keeping Fromm, which I don't anticipate is truly going to be the case. Yeah. This is the first time McDermott would have ever kept 3 quarterbacks. So
right. You want to know my theory on it? So what, I got to say what's up to my guy Daniel Galvers. He watches every show, man. I appreciate you rocking with us every show. I think the cerebral assassin that is Brandon Beane released Davis Webb to put in other GMs' minds that there was something wrong with him. Kept Jake Fromm to hold that place so that they can release Jake Fromm and bring back Davis Webb on the practice squad.
I can be down with that. Because,
Does that make sense?
I was thinking kind of the same kind of deal, right? As even with Fromm, you like say you keep him like you really like him, and then you try to put him on your practice squad and hope that somebody just takes him, right? And you're like,
right,
all right, cool.
Because I can see. And I know for a fact that I know Brian Daboll and I think Sean McDermott to an extent really likes Davis Webb. I know Brandon Beane does. And I haven't seen anything to say that Jake Fromm is a lock on this roster at all. I've seen the performance. I haven't seen anything from the coaches coming out saying that he's going to be a part of the piece of the future. I haven't seen any of that stuff. So I was thinking about that earlier. I'm like, all right, well, maybe they release Webb because they picked him up last year. He was just kind of chilling out there right on the street, and they picked him up. So I'm thinking if other GMs are like, well, why'd they release Davis Webb and keep Jake Fromm? They must be high on Jake Fromm, only for Beane to flip that tomorrow and release Jake Fromm and sign Davis Webb and put him on the practice squad. So that's my thought on that. All right, let's move on to running backs. Everybody's favorite, Christian Wade, was released. Now, the Bills can do a couple things with him. They can let him go, or they can bring him back with an exemption and put him on the practice squad. If they bring him back with the exemption, that means nobody can take him. He's on the practice squad the whole year. I feel like Christian Wade's time in Buffalo is up, and they're going to give him a chance to make another roster someplace else. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to get picked up anywhere, so it'll be our decision, I think, in the end, if we want to just bring him around for that or not. I mean, it's always a great story, right? But we're like, I feel like as a team, we should be past just hoping that the great story is making the team, and we're just actually keeping guys because they're badass, and that's who we need to keep to have the best team on the field, right?
Yeah, and Daniel Gowers is talking about Trent Murphy. We'll get into that in a minute.
Because I did let Daniel come back every time if he's going to rub it in our face right off the bat. Jeez, Daniel.
All right, and then Antonio Williams, who is kind of a favorite of mine because I just like his story. Dude's super humble. He's a really good guy. Was released earlier in training camp. Decided he wanted to be a coach for UNC. The Bills called him again, say, hey, what's going on? They re-signed him. So you got to think that he's going to be a practice squad guy. Only because they wouldn't have called him back just to release him like 3 days later. Like they had to have. What can you see in 3 days that you didn't see when he was in training camp previously? You know what I'm saying? So he's got to be a practice squad guy. All right. So wide receivers. All right.
Well, you had Jones making it, didn't you? You had Taiwan sticking to the roster, didn't you?
Yep, he made it. He made it. Yeah, he made it.
You think he's truly going to stick, or do you think he's
Yeah.
going to be another one of these pieces that they're going to shuffle here?
No, I think he's on the roster. I definitely think they brought him in again for the practice squad, or for special teams. So I can't see them doing that on purpose just to. I mean, he hasn't fallen off since being a gunner from last year.
I just feel like, I feel like that Yeldon or Jones, with being able to look at so many players being available, that one of those two guys almost might be like a casualty soon.
Yeah,
to get
I don't know.
Fresh in there, but
I don't know. All right, so wide receiver, everyone's underdog superhero Duke Williams. I believe his time in Buffalo is up. I don't think he's going to be put back on the practice squad. I think they dealt him that hand last year, and I just don't see him doing anything different to come back to the practice squad. I'd be surprised if he didn't get nabbed up by somebody else, but then again, he didn't get taken all of last year when he was on the practice squad. So what's your thoughts on Duke, on the fan favorite, the good story of Duke Williams?
Yeah, I mean, we both didn't have him making it, right? So I mean,
right.
I didn't feel like he could. I do feel like he's going to get picked up by somebody, because there's probably there's some teams that are hurting at the position, right? Or they're at least going to try to pick him up and stash him on their practice squad. There's always that coach that's like, I can turn him, right? Or he'll fit better here or whatever. He might be a Patriot by the end of the week. Who knows, right? Because Belichick just be like, oh yeah, watch. I can take your guys' trash and make it better than you. Watch. So who knows? Probably everybody will be on the Pats for the week, so they can try to figure out what we're going to be up to this season, and then they'll move on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a great story, but I think
fit, right? I mean, he can't do special teams for us. He's not going to be on the field as a wide receiver that often with the way we're staffed now.
Yeah, and I've said all along there's a reason why we drafted Gabe Davis and Isaiah Hodgins. So, all right, let's move on. Robert Foster. As everybody knows, the Bills tried to move Robert Foster yesterday. They tried to move Robert Foster today. I'm not sure if just nobody was biting, because I'm pretty sure Brandon Beane could have got like a late round pick for him, 6th or 7th round pick or something. So there must not been that much of a market for Robert Foster. Not sure if he's going to come back on the practice squad. He might get picked up. I can see somebody like the Jets picking him up, or somebody who has some desperate wide receiver needs going and taking a flyer on him. If he can stay healthy in a warm climate atmosphere team, he might be okay. I don't know if it's going to be beneficial to him to have to go and do this all over again on a practice squad for the Bills, but I mean, we'll see, right? I mean, we'll see.
I mean, you got Coach Gruden there with the Raiders, likes to take flyers on the Bills wide receivers, so he
can go hang out with Zay Jones.
They can just team back up and do it all over again.
Right. All right. So tight ends. So this is kind of a touchy one for me. So now everybody knows Tommy Sweeney did this dance yesterday, and the Bills, I was concerned that they weren't going to get it right, and then they got it right. So they admitted that Tommy Sweeney is not 100%. They were going to put him on the active roster so that he didn't get taken off the practice squad or released or what have you today. But they put him on the PUP so that he can properly rehabilitate and he's eligible to play week 6. So Tommy Sweeney is probably going to be a part of the future of this team. He'll probably come back, and I expect them to put him back on the practice squad when he comes back. They got rid of Jason Kroom. They were looking to move him via trade, which I didn't think there would be a huge market for Jason Kroom. He's been kind of injury prone on and off the practice squad. Nice guy, he's dating one of the Pagulas, so there's that. So we can squash that he'll always be on the team because he's dating one of the Pagulas. They must have broke up or something. But him and Nate Becker have been released. I'm not sure about Nate Becker. I haven't seen much film on him. Haven't seen much out of him in training camp. I don't know if he's a project that they'd like to work on the practice squad. But do either Nate Becker and Jason Kroom kind of shock you as being released?
No, I mean, I feel like Kroom's had his chance, right? He's been here for a little bit now. He struggles with the injuries, and so it's kind of writing on the wall, especially when you've got Knox, who's on the up and up. You've got Croft, who you're paying a bunch of money to, whether he's worth it or not at this point. Hopefully this season he turns into what they thought he was gonna. And then you've got, they kept Lee Smith. Like,
yeah, I mean, well, after we do the cuts, we'll break down who's still here. If you guys can't, equate who got cut to who's still here, because I had to do that too. I had to break down who was still here, take off who got cut, because the Bills didn't release that. Let's just say Matthew Harmon has the best avatar probably I've seen so far, with that little kid giving the middle finger. I appreciate that like more than you know. I just equate that to him like pointing at like a Patriots fan.
Yeah, hopefully.
And then let's see. Gary says only having like 3 catches in 2019 is not helping Foster's chances. Yeah, and then the long catch that he had, he was open, nobody in front of him down the field, and he pulled a hamstring. So it's like, dude, where's the 2018 second half of the season, Robert Foster? What happened to that guy? And I think that's what
no drops on those 3 passes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. All right, so let's move on. Let's move on to we could do offensive linemen, because I think there's going to be some movement here. The first one is Evan Boehm, which you had him on yours, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's another guy that they're going to bring back. He's been in the league. Yeah, potentially bring back. He's been in the league more than 4 years, so he doesn't have to clear waivers. They can just call him tomorrow and say, we made a spot for you, come back. And I know they like him a lot. And then Trey Adams, undrafted free agent, who had an injury last year that kind of dropped his draft stock. He fell out of the draft. Bills grabbed him as an undrafted free agent. I haven't seen a lot of stuff from them saying that they're super high on him, and he might be one of those project guys. Marquel Harrell, Victor Salako, and Brandon Walton. I'm not sure if any of those guys come back on the practice squad. They may be projects, but they are all undrafted free agents. So
seems like they have linemen in, right? So those guys probably aren't going to stick. He's going to look for somebody different to look at on the practice squad for a little while, right?
Yeah, because the Bills kept, let me see, 1, 2, 3.
Should be 10 linemen, right?
They kept 9. But they're going to bring, I guarantee they bring Boehm back. So the linemen they kept, you got Morse, Botker, Spain, Williams, Dawkins, Ford, Inseki, Winters, and Bates.
Well, and technically Feliciano, right?
Yeah, Feliciano's on IR, so he doesn't take up a roster spot.
Well, not yet. He's on IR, right? That's part of the issue. That's why we had to get rid of Roberts and these guys right now, right? So yeah, 9. They're bound to bring him back then, because I feel like we'll roll with 10.
Yeah, because you have a backup for each spot. David Highland, welcome. What's up, bro? Another regular we should go after. Clowney just signed with the Titans literally right before we came on the air. Clowney signed with the Titans 1-year deal. He fired his agent, so he was kind of wheeling and dealing his contract himself, I guess, probably getting some legal advice on some things. But, so then let's see. Let's move on to DBs, because I feel like we have some kind of surprises here in the DBs. All right, so I'll start with the non-surprises. Josh Thomas, I think I read somewhere where they want to try to bring him back for the practice squad. Brian Allen, he was a late camp arrival. I don't really think he had much of a chance. He might have just been a camp body. Cam Lewis, who I know that you were high on Cam Lewis making your roster.
Yeah, I have a feeling that he might be one of those guys that could be one of these. He sneaks back in once we start moving some things around.
I mean, it could be.
We're pretty light at the QB position right now for having 2 guys that are battling soft tissue issues. I mean, we're pretty light at that CB position.
Yeah, and you got to think he's been in the system for a while, right? So you got to, you got to
look. I'm sure, right? And if he sees something better out there, he's going to go get it. So
yeah, and then you got Dane Jackson, who I absolutely believe will be back on the practice squad, and he may be on the active roster depending on the severity of these soft tissue injuries with Levi Wallace, Josh Norman, once we get closer to opening day. So, and then you got Dean Marlowe, again, another player who's been in the league for 4 years, was in this system last year, doesn't have to clear waivers. There's already been stuff out there saying that he's going to get re-signed tomorrow. because that was one that kind of surprised me until I had seen everything coming out saying that we can bring him back.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was a little surprise for me too. So it's like I almost feel like when I'm doing my numbers, it's like, well, I shouldn't count those two, right? Because they're coming right back, right? Like I got those two,
yeah.
And I did have some concerns about Dean earlier in the process just because of his age, with a couple of younger guys nipping at the heels. But he did like his baby thing at the field the other day. I was like, this is gonna be straight gangster if we just cut this fool right now,
right? Yeah, like
welcome to the family. You're out.
Sure. Just come on. We'll put signs up on our jumbotron. Whatever you want. We'll throw some pink balloons around. Yeah. But by the way, we're gonna cut you in 2 days. Yeah. So
the other team you're gonna play for is gonna have to finish this when it's all said and done. But so
my guy Cameron's in the house. Do you have a shirt on, Cam? Is there a shirt? Can we get acknowledgement of the shirt? Yep, Daniel Garis, Feliciano and I are set to return. Yep.
Which is also a smart move they had to make the right way, right?
You know who's not on the roster this year? Patrick DeMarco.
I know, it's funny. We actually both got the fullback thing right. Not how we thought it would technically be, but we got it right.
I don't want to joke about someone who's on the injured reserve, and I don't want to make light of the situation, but how perfect of an opportunity for Reggie Gilliam. Have you seen the story? I don't know if anybody's seen the story, but he wasn't invited to anybody's pro day, right? So dude did his own pro day, had a cameraman, had all the stuff for the drills set up himself, and sent all the pro teams his videos. And the Bills called him. And he picked the most perfect opportunity to just ball out in training camp. Now, maybe there was some added, leverage for him to kind of give it 110% because he knew DeMarco wasn't there and he had literally no competition at fullback. But even on special teams, even on tight end, his blocking schemes have been good. So I'm just proud of the guy. Like I absolutely think that, and we were talking about this on Twitter, going back and forth with some guys. How can he be a fan favorite when we've never actually seen him play? Well, he's an undrafted free agent. That's how, because he's
little guy.
Yeah, he was looked over by 32 teams and had to put all the work in himself, literally everything himself. So it's just a good story.
Well, all right, we should have seen the writing on the wall when they changed his number, right? Like, why do you go out of the way to change a guy's number like a few days before cut if he's not going to be like making the team? Well, we're going to call you a tight end now, and then we're going to cut you.
David Highland, DeMarco's gone. Damn, there goes our deep threat. That play better not be in the playbook this year. I swear to God.
I saw a meme earlier. It was like, who's going to run like our wide receiver screens or something with DeMarco being cut?
Yeah, somewhere right now, Josh is throwing a bomb to Reggie Gilliam. They're perfecting that shit like right now.
It's probably going to work.
It's happening. It's happening right now. All right, so let's get through the defensive line. And then we can get through all of the guys that were cut. Now, I'm going to start out with the guy who I thought was going to make the roster, and Brian Cox Jr. He had an amazing camp. From what everybody was saying was that he was light years ahead of Daryl Johnson. He was just light years ahead of Daryl Johnson. So this is one of those head scratchers that may come back on the practice squad. But Brian Cox, Mike Love, who we all know has been in the system for a while, I can see him coming back on the practice squad, giving it another go-around. Justin Zimmer, late arrival to camp, so I'm not sure what they think about him. Tanzel Smart, another late arrival. Vincent Taylor, I feel like did you have him making the 53? No, okay, I didn't either. But he's got to be a practice squad guy. I would think he's got to be one of the veterans that makes the practice squad.
He's probably the veteran that for sure, right? He played well last year when he came in and filled in for us there for a while.
Yeah, I just don't. I mean, he played like 3 games last year, and I think he had 2 sacks or something like that. So, he and Jordan Phillips got like absolutely the Jerry Hughes treatment of Jerry Hughes just killing the line and pushing the quarterback into the middle of the field, and just these guys just eating these sacks. So last but not least, linebacker Andre Smith. You have to think either 2 things happened. Brandon Beane regretted trading that 7th-round pick in 2097, or they're going to bring him back. Because if the Bills don't bring him back, they don't have to give the Panthers that 7th-round draft pick.
He's not coming back.
it's gonna be interesting to see why we brought in the Carolina Panthers' best special teams player only to cut him a few days later. It's kind of interesting. We'll have to wait and see tomorrow. But we're heavy. We're heavy at linebacker, which we can get into in a second. So there's some surprises at linebacker. My guy A. Rich is in the house. Let's see, Patrick. Aren't the IR rules different this year? Not the 6-week like before because of COVID. Yeah, IR is different. So there's a bunch of different underlining rules. So you can be out for 3 games instead of 8. So typically, like say a player got injured right now and you put them on IR, they're automatically out for 8 games. Now you can bring them back in 3 games. But Patrick DeMarco was designated; he's done for the year, and we've probably seen the last of him in a Bills uniform. Let's see, Samantha Smith, D. Johnson has those long arms. You had him making the roster, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that when we get into the linebacker depth there a little bit, that we've made an effort, I would think, to get longer and thicker on special teams. That's why we're longer and thicker. You heard it right. Oh, you heard it right. I thought this was an explicit content show.
PG-13 is it PG-13?
I don't know. Either way, I think we're longer and thicker at the linebacker position for the special team.
I need an adult. I feel uncomfortable right now. All right, so what do you guys think about the cuts? Is there a surprise in there? Anybody in the comment section, let me know if any of the guys that were cut, other than like Andre Roberts, Dean Marlowe, is there any other surprises? Somebody you thought we should have kept? Somebody you think we'll bring back?
Well, there's still the Duke Williams fan favorite stuff, right? Like everybody is a little concerned with that, but I feel like we did the right thing here. We got 2 younger versions to work with now. And we have our core guys. We know who's going to be out there unless there's some kind of injury, right? Yeah. So behind them's just help that we're still kind of grooming.
There's some good players that are available. I mean, I think we still need depth at corner. I think we still need another safety. I'm not 100% sold on our depth on the offensive line. I think we can get better. We kept Winters, which I was kind of surprised. I know you had.
I guess that's only roster. I'm only imagining that until Feliciano is back and ready, though.
Yeah,
and he's probably out.
All right, so Matthew Harmon was talking about Feliciano and IR. I guess it depends on when he's going to come back. Anytime after 3 weeks, they can activate him. Yeah. So if he's going to be 5 weeks, he's out for 5 weeks. After he has to be out at least 3. So we know that we're without him until week 4. So the week 4 is the earliest he can come back. Mm-hmm. And that's when I believe we play the Raiders week 4, if I'm correct. He's been telling people he'll see us in Vegas. So he knows the 3-game rule, and he knows.
Does he come right back and play though now? I mean, what if Ford is?
It all depends because we still don't know where Cody Ford is playing. McDermott. I mean, you told us that it's bothering you that you don't want a rotation and you want to figure it out. Well, you got a game in 7 days, dude.
Yeah.
Like you should probably be going all week preparing for the Jets with these guys in the same spot.
Right. I feel like
you made your cut.
Your plan is to just bring Feliciano back and he's going to go in. Then that tells me that we're keeping Ford outside, right? And then you just let Williams play the inside instead of Winters for the few weeks, and then you dump Winters. But I feel like
I don't know.
Ford's got to be the guard. He's got to be the guard, right? Like
I would think that. Again, I don't know. I don't know what Bean and McDermott's doing, but they're down to 53. There's no extra parts to shuffle around anymore. Now you're either putting Ford up against Winters, or you're putting Nsekhe up against Ford at right tackle, or you're putting Darrell Williams. Winters is not starting. Let's get that out of the way. So it's either Darrell Williams or Cody Ford at right guard. That's the only options right now. So if it's that close, I'm concerned that they're going to pick the wrong guy if it's that close, because to me you go with the young guy. You go with Cody Ford to me, because if he can't beat out Ty Nsekhe at right tackle, then we have a problem. you put him at guard, right? And then you put Darrell Williams on the outside. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, they need to figure it out real soon. Samantha Smith says she's surprised at Trey Adams. Yeah, I mean, I thought he was going to get cut, and I was hoping they'd bring him back on the practice squad.
I anticipate we'll try to bring him back if we can.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a project. I don't think he sees the active roster this season. Yeah, this is why. I mean, I know his contract's fully guaranteed, but there's no benefit.
At some point, it's not worth it, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, Bean hates dead money. We have a little over, I think, just under $2 million in dead money right now, but Bean hates that he has that much. So I can see Winters just being.
Wasn't it only like 750 or something like that? It's not even.
No, it's more than that. I think it's more than that. But guaranteed money is guaranteed money. You know, I mean, iron sharpens iron, right? We'll see. Maybe we just haven't seen enough of him in training camp to give a full conclusion on what's actually going on. Yeah, $3 million. All right. So if you guys haven't hit the like button, hit the like button. If you're watching on Facebook, please share this to some of these Bills groups so we can get a larger audience every single show and get more engagement. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the bell. That way you guys know when we go live. So that little notification pops up saying we're going live. And then please subscribe. We are almost to 2,000 subscribers. It's kind of a big deal. And we have a lot more stuff coming for you guys. Once the season hits, we're going to have a pre and post game show. We're bringing back. I'm pulling my man Akeem. I'm pulling him out, and he's going to do Take Fives live with you guys on. I believe we're going to do Tuesdays, and then you got me and my man Colt Wednesdays and Saturdays. So, all right, here we go. Tyler Bass, kickers win and lose games annually and weekly. This was the biggest high-risk reward move. I agree, and don't be surprised if we put a kicker on the practice squad.
Yeah,
Chase was his name, Chase McLaughlin. Who was who was in training camp last year?
Yep.
Yeah, he was released today, so he's a free agent. And then you got to think too, you know, the cream rises to the top. Maybe a little competition for Bass. Maybe works out some of the rookie kinks.
Oh, yeah, I think it's important to have somebody there standing behind him, just letting him know, right? Like, this is for real. Don't mess up.
Right. Matthew Harmon says, Mr. Bean and Coach McDermott trust.
I like Matthew's next comment.
Okay. Show of hands, Marone walking out on us was the best thing could have happened. I'm not mad anymore. I agree. I still think we should have made the playoffs in 2014 with Uncle Rico as our quarterback. We beat the Raiders, and we're in. We beat the Raiders, and we're in. All right.
He wasn't terrible, but he's nowhere near McDermott. But he was not terrible.
No,
he did have us trending in a better direction than we were at the time, for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, so quarterbacks, we're going to break down the active 53-man, well, I should say the 53-man roster until this time tomorrow or in the morning tomorrow when Brandon Beane makes more moves. So Josh Allen, Matt Barkley, Jake Fromm. I think me and Colt both agree that I don't expect Fromm to be on this roster. I don't even really expect him to be on the practice squad, to be honest with you. I think this was a move to kind of shake up some GMs that might be looking to sign a quarterback to be a backup quarterback or a practice squad guy, and that's why they released Davis Webb. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but that only makes too much sense because I know how much Davis Webb has put into this team. And I'll always go back to the Florida workouts when he was running plays. You know, if you ask a lot of people around the league, he's an extremely intelligent quarterback. I know that doesn't always equate to on-the-field success, but they could use him as a secondary QB coach to Josh Allen.
And one of them's got to go on the practice squad at least, right? I mean,
yeah, we're not going to roll with three. Yeah. We have too many needs on defensive line and in the secondary, and we're bringing Roberts back, so we're carrying 7 receivers, right? So we have needs other places,
right?
And if Josh, God forbid, something happens to Josh, and we have to roll with Matt Barkley for a game or two, then we'll bring somebody else up. But we carried 2 all of last year.
Right.
We carried 2 quarterbacks, even when, you know, Josh got injured. We who'd we activate? Davis Webb last year when Josh got the concussion against the Patriots. I don't even think we did because COVID. Josh. Yeah, I mean, I don't even think we did because Josh just missed the fourth quarter of that game, and then he played after the bye against Tennessee, right? So I don't even think we added a QB to the roster. All right, running backs: Singletary, Moss, Yeldon, and Taiwan Jones. Yes, TJ Yeldon is still on the team, and I agree with this decision 1,000% because he's the most tenured running back on the team right now. And you can't just let him walk unless somebody comes available. And everybody's talking about, well, why don't we go get Lamar Smith? No, I don't want Lamar Smith. He's been cut from the Patriots who just signed him a few weeks ago. So there's obviously something going on there.
And then third running back has to help out on special teams, right? You're not Lamar Miller ain't helping on special teams. Yeah, right? He's not that kind of guy. So
yeah. And then you keep the roster spot for Taiwan Jones because TJ Yeldon he played a couple snaps on special teams, but I don't think he's going to be that guy who's going to ultimately do that every game. All right, so wide receiver, Stephon Diggs, John Brown, Cole Beasley, Gabriel Davis, Isaiah Hodgins, and Isaiah McKenzie. So when they bring Roberts back, I'm not going to boast or brag, but I got this 100%. I think you did too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so
that's why I feel like this is kind of like I want to take my 6 that I missed and make it 4 because these with Marlowe coming back and Roberts coming back, those were both called. We had the wide receivers pegged, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, like you have to think too. There was some people out there that were upset about McKenzie staying on the team and not Duke, because well, do we need to do the gadget plays? We absolutely need to do the gadget plays because it's part of the run pass option offense that we're going to run. So we absolutely have to run those plays, and he does other things too. Come on, let's be real.
I still believe he's our best option if Beasley goes down to pop into the slot. Right?
Yeah, I mean he was our number 3 receiver last year. Not saying he's number 3 this year because he's not, but if you have issues with some hiccups with Gabe Davis and Isaiah Hodgins, he's right there. He's right there. All about the Bills. What's going on, man?
Yeah. Fight at home. There's a fight. They're so pumped up. They're fighting. Coach Mr. Rubino is praising the Bills for cash flow.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Iron Mike doesn't like TJ Yeldon.
He absolutely does not.
Theo Riddick. I'm always skeptical about taking running back, like skill position players that get cut on cut down day. There's got to be something going on other than I don't think this year there's a bunch of financial situations going on. There's got to be something else going on where these like Theo Riddick and Lamar Miller are getting cut because not a ton of big names got cut today. Not a ton at all were cut. So you got to think that there's something going on. I'm not a huge fan. And TJ Yeldon's been in the system. He's been in the system for a couple years now. So
yeah.
All about the Bills take away Trey. Yep, we talked about that earlier. He got his $55 million guaranteed. Iron Mike says John Brown is best to pop into the slot now that Gabe Davis has emerged.
Potentially, yeah.
All right. Kyler says Hodgins is going to progress quick and be a huge asset in the red zone. I agree 1,000%. And I want everybody, I'll leave this comment here for a second. I just want everybody to realize that these rookies are going to take their lumps, right? We can't think that the sky is falling if Gabriel Davis isn't doing in regular season what he was doing in training camp. We can't think the sky is falling because I go back to Cam Phillips, who absolutely tore up preseason last year, looked like the next best wide receiver on this team, only to get cut. And he got cut again today by the Carolina Panthers. So we just have to make sure that we keep an even head when we see these guys. We got to remember they're rookies. I don't care what's been said about how much they know the playbook and how great they look in camp. They made the team for a reason, but we have to let them take their lumps just like any other rookies. But I do agree, at some point this year, these two guys are going to be mismatched nightmares for opposing defenses. And I think it's just going to be – we have 5 solid options, at wide receiver now. So something I would have never said 2 years ago. So it's extremely refreshing. Matthew Harmon agrees.
Yeah. Bigger targets too, getting a little taller everywhere.
So Drew said, first time watching and joining. Thanks, man. Appreciate you watching, man. Glad to have you. Glad to have you every Wednesday and Saturday. We're just going to make it 9 for both. We're not doing 9:30 on Wednesdays anymore. It's just going to be 9. Just be 9 o'clock because I think everybody's getting confused. All right, tight ends. Let's talk about tight ends. Dawson Knox, Tyler Kroft, Lee Smith, Reggie Gilliam, tight end / fullback. And then we have on the PUP, Mr. Tommy Sweeney. So I'm not happy about Lee Smith. I understand it, but I don't agree with it. I understand he's a veteran. Maybe he's a leadership guy for that room. But to me, the dude takes way too many penalties. The guy is a glorified offensive lineman. If that's what you want for a run-heavy offense, that's fine. But I don't think we're going to be 100% run-heavy offense. There's going to be games we run heavy because of matchups, but I don't feel like this was something we probably could have rolled with 3 if you're making Gilliam a tight end, and then when Sweeney comes back, roll with them. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want Lee to make the team either, but I'm still hoping that what's going to take place is when Sweeney is ready, that it's going to be time for Lee to go, right? That you could just bring Sweeney and put him on the roster because Knox and Kroft are performing the way they're supposed to be performing. But you also keep Lee around right now because you don't have a fullback, so maybe Lee Smith is actually the fullback, right? Like who, maybe that's what he's going to do this year, right?
300-pound fullback.
Because he's not really good at anything else, right? So, and then that way, if Gilliam doesn't quite work out the way they're hoping, he's still got Lee Smith there that you can stick in, right? I mean, so I get it. I think it costs too much for what he's giving us, and I hope that Sweeney gets to take that spot when he comes back. But yeah,
I mean,
and he's a vet.
I mean,
it's
there's
one of those things.
There's a ton of teams out there that don't use fullbacks that have a good offense. Put a linebacker back there. Shit, put Harrison Phillips back there. If he's just clogging a hole or opening a hole or pushing a guard out of the way or whatever, I mean, put a tight end in there. Put Dawson Knox in there and let him friggin' stiff arm the shit out of people and run people over. Like,
I mean, when we were using DeMarco, when we were actually using him the way we were supposed to be used, it was like we knew we were going for a yard or two, right? So it's like, who cares who's in there if everybody knows you're going for a yard or two?
Yeah,
right?
and so
that big offensive lineman that can do it.
So when they put him on the IR, like somebody, I don't know who it was. I can't find it again. It was on Twitter. Somebody made a highlight package of like Patrick DeMarco blocking, and it was like an all 22 like version from back at the end zone. It was like 6 plays over like 3 years. I'm like, does anybody? I understand what he means to the team. Him and McDermott had a bond. He was a leader. He played special teams. But for 5% of the offensive snaps, I don't know. Same with Lee Smith. Like, I feel like if we have a healthy Tyler Kroft, and maybe they kept Lee Smith because they're worried about, the unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt and Tyler Kroft, like maybe he gets injured and then we have Lee Smith. But you can't – I don't know. Can't deal with what ifs. I think the dude he has discipline problems. He's gotten unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, holding penalties,
9 penalties last year.
Yeah. So Diego says the best move next to the Diggs signing. Are we talking about signing Trey? Because I agree. I agree 100%. All right. Offensive line. We kind of touched it earlier. Mitch Morse obviously is our starting center. We kept Ryan Bates, which I'm super pumped about because not only because I had him on my projected 53, but he's our backup center. Let's keep it 100 here. He's the backup center. He plays all 5 spots.
Yep.
Somebody actually tweeted today that if I see one more person saying Ryan Bates plays all 5 spots, I'm going to quit Twitter. So I immediately responded with Ryan Bates plays all 5 spots. So if that person happens to see our video, I just want you to know Ryan Bates can play all 5 spots on the offensive line. So we kept him. We kept Ike Butker, which I think they're really high on him. Quentin Spain, Darrell Williams, Dion Dawkins, Cody Ford, Ty Secchi, Brian Winters, and we have Feliciano on the IR. So I think I'm good with that. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I feel like it's still going to get shaken up a little bit, right? But yeah, I'm not opposed to anything that took place. We went with a little more of the youth that's been performing really well, and they love the versatility. So we kept the versatility, which I'm 100% okay with. I mean, yes, I don't anticipate this is set in stone, but I think that it's a good way to go right now.
Yeah, and I think too that we have a good problem. Now I complained about right guard, right tackle, but I think it's an okay problem to have because of the Daryl Williams signing. If we didn't sign Daryl Williams, and for some reason Brian Winters was thrown in there to be a potential starter with Cody Ford at right guard, then I'd be a little concerned. We'd be talking about like the Ike Bockers and the Evan Boehms of the world. But to having Daryl Williams, I wouldn't be surprised if Daryl Williams starts at one of the positions and Cody Ford's at one of the other positions, because I'm not sold on Ty Nsekhe. He's a mountain of a man. He's an absolute large man, but I wasn't sold on the production we got out of him last year.
He was definitely better than Ford at times, right? And he did help in sometimes, but yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just, and he's getting really old, right? I mean, 35 now, so he's really getting up there. So yeah, he's got to go next year probably, right? It's time to figure out that right tackle.
I think it's time. I mean, he's been behind Trent Williams his entire career, right? So he's behind a Hall of Fame tackle, right? So he hasn't started a ton of games in his career. Right. He's a swing tackle. He can play left or right. But I think if you start him and you start Cody Ford, then you have Daryl Williams just kind of hanging out, then you have to start over if Ty Nsekhe starts to struggle. You got to bring Daryl Williams in, or you're going to move Cody Ford back over there and then put Daryl Williams at guard. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Daniel Galries, I love you, brother. Smash the like button, everybody. We got 38 folks in here between Facebook and YouTube. Smash it, smash away. We need a right tackle, no question. Yeah, I mean, we need to figure – I think this is a bigger issue than a lot of people want to make it. I feel like we shored up the left side with Dawkins, and I'm surprised that we didn't look for – unless they're sold on Cody Ford at right tackle, I'm surprised that they didn't look – heavily either in free agency or in the draft. Now, I know they wanted Epinesa and they got Zach Moss, but you got to think that they must have something, deep down, where it matters most for Cody Ford, because Ty Nsekhe is not the answer for the future at right tackle. So
no. That's why I feel like as we're doing through all these signs, like that's the first thing I thought when we finally got trade inked up, right? Is so now a good portion of the secondary is locked up for the next 3 years at least, right? With Poyer and Hyde and everybody. So now we can truly focus on figuring out the number 2 cornerback. And I feel like the most of the line is now pieced together, and we're at that same spot with the right tackle where it's like we gotta figure out the right tackle now. It's not right. We're not there yet. I feel like we're still piecemeal a little bit there, right? So I agree with that a lot. We got to get a right tackle.
Matthew Harmon, my guy, second that. Smash the like button. Won't find better Bills content. All right. I'm glad you said that, because I know everybody is on YouTube and there's a ton of other shows. I appreciate you guys coming and watching our show every time we're on. We are almost to a point where we can have all the cool bells and whistles that a lot of the other shows have. So we're going to be launching all those probably within the next month or so. So just keep a lookout for that. But I appreciate all you guys. I know a lot of you guys watch some of the other channels. I appreciate you guys coming and rocking with us, even when they're on at the same time. You guys take your time to come over here. So I know that Colt and myself, we really appreciate that. This is my guy right here. I got to put his comment up. Jay Coffee Talk. He's a long time subscriber of ours, and he's been rocking with us since day one. Let me see if I can. Your comment's like crazy long. Can you read that one? Can you read that one?
Bro, Jay Coffee checking in, driving on the highway, listening. I made a vid about Wade. What's your thoughts? I know it's not a big deal. Just curious. LOL. Hang up and listen.
First off, I appreciate you, Jay.
A great
me and Jay go back a while. He's a great dude. He's got a YouTube channel. He does sports content, music, all kinds of stuff. But we touched on Wade earlier. And I love the comment. I'll hang up and listen. That's hilarious.
I know, that's a great comment. It's like he does often.
But yeah, I think I don't know. I don't know if Wade's coming back. I'm not sure if they. I know that Brandon Beane has a special bond because of the international program that we brought him over and gave him his opportunity. I don't know if he'd get signed anywhere else. I haven't seen many rugby players, be a part of a team, then get released and then sign elsewhere. There's been a couple, but not many. So we'll see. Maybe they bring him back just for the year so he can hang out in the practice squad for the year and have the experience. But it's going to be interesting. And we're probably going to start to find out tomorrow. They'll start piecing the practice squad together.
I think he might still stick to the practice squad just because they can give him the full year, right? And they can protect him.
Yeah. Right.
But you see Mr. Iron Mike trying to get Chris Brown fired again. Like, really? Trying to get him fired again.
Chris Brown disappeared, and then he reappeared, with all fancy new equipment. So I think it was I think it was one big sham. I think that they were just like, hey, Chris, while you're getting new equipment, don't go on the air. And then once you come back, we'll show all your cool stuff.
Yeah. Check out this new green screen we got for you.
All right, let's talk about corners because we only kept 4, technically 4.5. Tre'Davious White, Levi Wallace, Josh Norman, and Taron Johnson. The highly underrated Taron Johnson. I feel like that dude's a hammer, and I feel like he's going to make a difference this year as our nickel corner. But that was that. I think that was all a given right there. I think I was thinking they were going to keep 5 and potentially sneak Dane Jackson in there. I know you like Cam Lewis.
I think they view it as they did keep 5 though, because I think Neal they view as a cornerback, right? I think he's kind of counted into that cornerback room. So you were probably right in saying 5. I'd still say.
Yeah, it's kind of weird too because if you see him on different outlets, he's listed as a safety. He's listed as a cornerback on some, and then some places he's just listed as a DB. Right. So, I think he's a very, very, very serviceable, slot corner, nickel corner. I think if anything happens with Taron, we're covered there. But I've been saying this and I've been preaching this for a while. I think that between Taron Johnson and Jaquan Johnson, or Saran Neal and Jaquan Johnson, I think in the future they're going to be our Hayden Poyer. I honestly feel that way. That's the contingency plan. It may be a few years down the road, but I think that's the contingency plan. All right, so we'll move into safeties. Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Jaquan Johnson, Saran Neal. And then Dean Marlowe will come back tomorrow. So how do you guys in the comment section feel about our secondary? Let's see.
Time to move on.
David Highland says we should have 2-hour shows. We can make that happen, man. We can make that happen. You guys, I noticed that halfway through the show is when we start getting a ton of viewers. I just know that it's late. I know it's late, and I don't know if you guys want to rock with us for 2 hours. If you do, we'll do it. I'll do whatever. This show is for you. So I don't know about Colt, but I can probably handcuff him to the desk and make him stay for 2 hours.
I don't have anything else to do. I mean, so let's be fair. Wow. I'd rather be here doing this.
Yeah, so. We can do that, man. We can do it. Let's see.
You got to get a bunch of people in here, though, because we can't talk the whole time. You guys got to give us some stuff to chat about in that room.
Samantha, any info? Yeah, EJ Gaines opted out of the season, so he probably has.
He's not playing football again, I don't think.
Yeah, he probably has seen his last days as a Buffalo Bill, and I wouldn't be surprised if he retires.
Yeah.
He's got health issues every season, and he opted out this year.
Maybe one last hurrah, try to let the body rest for a year and try to make a roster, but yeah.
Samantha came right back. She's quick with it. Secondary solid, our best unit. I'd say it's close between the wide receivers and the secondary. Our front 7 defensive line rotation, I feel like is pretty strong too. This is probably the deepest defensive line that we've had. I know it under Sean McDermott, but that we've had since maybe like the cold front when we had Mario Williams and Kyle Williams and Marcel Darius when he was actually moving, and Jerry Hughes. I think that was a formidable front 4. So we'll see. Everybody wants him to break the sack record of that year, so we'll see. I think they have 54 sacks that year.
I think so.
55.
I want to see some big numbers in the sack department this year. That's for sure. We're paying a lot of money for that front, so want to see some big things happen.
All right, Iron Mike Smith. I never liked class, but I'll stay up late and learn some Billsology. I love you, brother.
Nice.
All right. So linebackers. I'll keep the surprise. The two surprises. I got to say, I called one of them. Right. I called one of them, but I don't think anybody, unless you're Alexa, you knew who this guy was. All right. So we kept Tremaine Edmonds, AJ Klein, Tyler Matakevich, Matt Milano. I firmly believe that we kept one of these guys because Tyler Matakevich is never going to see a snap at linebacker. He is solely a special teams artist. That's what he's going to do. I feel like we're going to field Tremaine Edmonds, AJ Klein, and Matt Milano as our starting linebackers. But my man, Terrell Dotson.
There's a but.
Terrell Dotson. I had him on my 53. I got some shit for it in the comment section, I might add, saying that he was a practice squad at best, but my man's is on the team. So I've seen some stuff with people asking Alexa who Del'Shawn Phillips is, and I concur. So
did Alexa know?
Alexa, I'm not sure.
No,
but I did some digging. I did a little digging. Did you know that he was on the team last year on the practice squad? Did you know that? A lot of people do not know that. He has spent 10 months with the Bills between this training camp and last year's practice squad. A lot of people don't know that. So he's very well versed in the scheme. And apparently the Bills have been hiding this dude, and he's been performing in training camp. Because, we haven't seen footage of anything. We haven't seen the scrimmage. We haven't seen practice. There was no preseason. So a lot of people are saying this is going to be one of those guys that's going to surprise some folks come game day if he gets in the game, if needed. So he had to do something right if he outperformed Corey Thompson, who was a favorite of Sean McDermott's. Some of these other guys, Voshon Joseph, things like that. So he had to been doing something right all along. So how do you feel about our linebacker depth? We kept 6.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think a couple of those guys are special teams help for sure, right? Just rotational kind of guys, but it's young. I like it. I mean, it feels good to have some youth there that's going to continue to be able to grow because, like we were talking about earlier, with the potential losing like the Milanos and things like that, we got to have something behind it, right? That's worthwhile. Right. And Klein's good, but he's old, right? And then, like you were talking about, Matakevich is special teams only, right? So where's our backup linebackers for the future, right? And I think that's why these kids are there now, and I'm excited. I mean, I had Dotson as well. Phillips, no friggin' way, didn't even know, right. But I'm okay with it. I feel like it's good, and I feel like maybe we might still see something happen there, right? But
I absolutely think we're going to sign somebody off the street for practice for the practice squad,
right? Yeah.
And Bean can kind of turn some diamonds or some sand into some diamonds off the practice squad. We've seen it before. Not saying that he's going to do that with every guy, and I think that we've, as Bills fans, have kind of gotten to a point where we expect nothing but perfection when it comes to these practice squad players because of what happened with Levi Wallace and Robert Foster and stuff like that. We just have to remember that they're going to take flyers on guys that aren't going to pan out.
Right.
They're going to take flyers on guys that are just going to be duds. So, but Bean and McDermott like these raw guys that they can mold into kind of the player that they want them to be. And if there's flexibility and versatility there, they're going to go after them. They're going to absolutely go after them. All right, let's see.
Yeah, fun fact too, with the roster the way it stands right now, 6 of the 7 rookies drafted this year are on the team.
Yeah. Dane Jackson's the only one.
Yeah, so
for right now.
Yep, for right now.
Again, if Jake from State From is on this roster opening day, I don't know what I'll do. I'll do something. You guys in the comment section come up with something. I'll do something. I'll do something, but I just don't see it. Mike Plasecki, special teams is going to rock this year. I'm glad you brought that up because we're going to get to special teams in a second. We're almost there. We're almost there, bro. I promise. We'll talk about special teams in a minute. Defensive linemen. We kept Addison, of course. Epinesa, of course. Jerry Hughes, of course. Trent Murphy. Quentin Jefferson, Vernon Butler, Harrison Phillips, and Dale Johnson. So what did we keep? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. We kept 8, but I expect them to bring somebody in, 1 or 2 back for practice squad. I expect they'll bring back Vincent Taylor, Mike Love, one of those guys for the practice squad.
Yeah, I almost feel like Bean might go out and look around on this one, because I feel like we're pretty set at that position that it's definitely a spot where we can really take some flyers on some guys and just see what's out there and see who's really going to fit. At least for the next 2 years, we're pretty solid in that rotation right now.
I agree. All right. So we kept Trent Murphy. As of right now, there's no guarantees. No guarantees. I think the Daryl Johnson's – I think keeping Daryl Johnson kind of puts a little bit of a bug in the ear of fans about Trent Murphy. I'm not saying that's the sole reason why we would have kept him is to replace Trent Murphy, but he's going to have to feel – he's going to be feeling some heat. Knowing that there's a guy that's just hungry back there. So maybe it pushes him. And maybe he's been performing, in training camp, and we just haven't seen anything. Give me Trent Murphy from the last 6 games of the year, and I'm okay with the $10 million. Give me Trent Murphy of the beginning of the season last year, and I'm going to be pissed. Yeah. I'm going to absolutely be pissed and think that we should have cut him and saved $8 million, taken the $1.5 million dead cap hit and just be done with it.
Yep, I agree completely with that. And realistically, Murphy's not going to be here next year, right? So we do need to have somebody behind him that is there ready to go, or so. And I think Johnson's going to bring some value to special teams as well, right? He can go out there and he can do some special team snaps and things of that nature. He also could just end up being a active scratch every week, right?
Yeah, but here's my thing. If AJ Epinesa is taking snaps away from Trent Murphy by, say, week 3, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be pissed because then there's more money that you wasted on this guy that he's not – everybody says he looks better. They said that last year in training camp. He looks like a dog. He looks hungry. And then he didn't show up until week 10, right? So if AJ Epinesa is taking snaps away, good for AJ Epinesa and good for us because that speeds up his progression. But we're stuck with this guy being a healthy scratch or getting 20% of the reps and paying this bum $10 million. But maybe he proves me wrong. I hope he proves me wrong because he's obviously done something to warrant being on this team for 3 seasons.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and he's playing on a line that is giving him all the opportunity in the world to excel, right? Like if he wanted to make some money, he's on the line to make some money, right? If he went out and just had a phenomenal year this year, he could get another season for another 10, 12 million if he can go out and get 10 plus sacks this year.
Yeah, there's no reason on this defensive front that if he starts, now I know it's rotation based and some guys get 25%, some guys get 50, some guys get 75%, however you want to split it. Jerry Hughes seems to get the most reps. If he's not getting sacks on this line where they're all getting after it, I mean, there's an issue. Now, if he is, cool. If he's just a cleanup guy because Jerry Hughes is pushing the pocket over to his side and he gets a sack, cool. If he's causing fumbles, cool. But if he's not doing any of that, get him out. Get him out. Put in Epinesa. Let's see what he's got and just go with the youth movement. Because I don't think that Trent Murphy is this amazing locker room leader. I don't think that he was kept like they kept DeMarco around because of his leadership ability. Mm-hmm. I don't think that Trent Murphy's this guy who's boisterous in the locker room and he's a leader and he's given all this education to these young guys. And you wouldn't have brought in Quentin Jefferson. You wouldn't have drafted AJ Epinesa. You wouldn't have brought in Vernon Butler. I mean, I don't know. That's just my take on it. You wouldn't have kept Daryl Johnson if you're 100% sold on Trent Murphy. That's just my thought. So, all right, we'll move on to special teams. Everybody knows the kicker, punter, and the long snapper, Tyler Bass, Corey Bajorquez, and Reed Ferguson. That's special teams. Now, if you want to talk about the actual full-on special teams, we can go there. I kind of put somewhat of a list together, and it's kind of nasty in a good way. So we know Saron Neal plays special teams. Tyler Metakevich is like a beast on special teams, one of the best in the league, led the league last year in tackles on special teams. Jaquan Johnson has been playing special teams and outperforming a lot of guys. Taiwan Jones, we brought in for special teams. Now, if they bring back Andre Smith, that's going to just add to that. And then you have Andre Roberts as our return guy because they're going to bring him back tomorrow. So I think we're in good shape overall. I think we're pretty deep. Don't be surprised if tomorrow there's a bunch of dudes getting put on practice squad. We sign a bunch of guys who you don't know who they are because they were released off some other teams that were doing roster cuts. But in the comment section, let me know what you guys think about the cuts, the active roster. Are we good? Is there a position of need still as far as depth? Jay Coffee Talks bouncing. All right, bro. Call in again next week.
Yeah, call in.
We'll take your call, bro.
He doesn't have a sign.
Oh, here we go. Daniel Garis. He's not a bum. What the F are you talking about? He led the D-line in snaps last year. What does that tell you about what coaches think of him? All right, he had 5 sacks last year, right?
6, I believe.
6?
Right?
Well, he had 1 in the playoff game. He had 6 sacks in his last 6 games, I believe, right? So how many sacks did Jerry Hughes have last year? What do you have, 4.5?
Yeah, less, yeah.
Or 5.5? How many sacks did Ed Oliver have last year? Same amount as Trent Murphy, I believe. He had 5 or 5.5, right? I don't have all the stats right in front of me right now. But you got to think is he dominant in the run defense? I really don't think so. I think he's serviceable, but I also think Shaq Lawson was better than him in the run defense last year.
He graded out like very poorly at tackling last year. He was like in the 40s in tackling.
I mean,
say what he was on the field a lot. He wasn't tackling very well.
Say what you want about Shaq Lawson, but Shaq Lawson, I thought, performed really well last year in certain situations. Now, I don't think you're going to get the sacks from Shaq. I just don't. Until he improves his movement up front and his hands and all that stuff, his contact, I don't think you're going to get you were going to get the sacks out of Shaq. But Shaq was batting balls down. Shaq was really good in run defense last year. So, I mean, I've seen a lot of people go one way with Trent Murphy. I've seen a lot of people go the other way. Me personally, I just think for $10 million, we could be doing better as far as production from Trent Murphy.
I think Joe Smith in there kind of nails it. He says Murphy isn't bad. He's just not living up to that contract, right? I mean, yeah, he's not giving us $10 million worth of production, right?
That's my point. If we were paying Trent Murphy $5 million a year, I would be completely satisfied with what we're getting. But we lost Shaq Lawson because we couldn't pay him because we were paying Trent Murphy $10 million. And again, say what you will about Shaq, but he's not that bad of a player when you look at him compared to some of the other defensive ends that played last year for us.
Yeah. Joe Nelson, Lawson was sneaky good in the flats coverage and screens. He did bad. He got a lot better at bringing down balls that last year.
Yeah. I mean, it's facts. It's facts. And I know a lot of people don't like PFF because it's just a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense because the way they rate everything. But if you just look at the pure stats, like the overall grade, the grade against the pass and the grade against the rush, look at Shaq Lawson compared to Trent Murphy. And we could have paid Trent Murphy we could have paid Shaq Lawson the same thing we paid Trent Murphy and probably gotten more production. That's my point. That's my point. Big part of the wet blanket. I'm not sure what that means. Do you want to take that one, Colt?
Wet blanket is. What's the wet blanket, though?
If you're referring to the defensive line, like as a blanket, like blanketing someone, I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting comment. Right on, Shaq Lawson. All right. Matthew Harmon agrees.
And Matthew, they're harsh on the Bills players, PFF. Yeah.
Oh, so PFF has Tre'Davious White as their 18th best man coverage corner, which is fine because the Bills don't play man coverage. I mean, if for the 12 snaps out of the year that he was man coverage, but here's my thing. How many yak yards did he give up last year? I think it's 200 in the whole season. That's not bad. That's like what, 12, 15 a game? That's not bad at all. And then if you look at what our safeties gave up as far as yak yards, it's like next to nothing. So our defense, and Greg Tomset from Cover One when he was on here had the perfect analogy. It's like a boa constrictor. They're going to just tighten and tighten and squeeze and squeeze and squeeze until you have nothing left. You have nothing left. We're not going to let you beat us over top. We'll let you dink and dunk all you want, but eventually we're just going to constrict you so tight that there's no room for you to breathe. And then you kick a field goal or you punt. And that's exactly it.
Joe says Joe Nelson says that's my defensive nickname. He wants to call the Bills front the wet blanket.
Oh, the wet blanket? Okay.
Right. Or we can come up with different ideas if we want. Love it. To go, Joe.
Oh, Corey Bajorquez? All right, so I've kind of done a 180 on Bojo because he's not as bad as if you at first glance, like he's inconsistent, sure. But if you look at what he's asked to do by Heath Farwell, the special teams coach, if you look what he's asked to do, he's asked to kick coverage punts, which means kick it as high as you can and let our gunners get down there and make a play. Instead of rocketing some kick 65 yards and letting somebody get a 35-yard return. So I understand the philosophy of people saying that he's inconsistent because I don't think he's gonna nail these coffin kicks in the corner. I don't think he's gonna do that. I don't think that's your punter.
Maybe rarely.
Luck. But what we ask of players is to do, we ask quarterbacks to go out and execute, right? We ask defensive guys to go out and execute, right? So he's just doing exactly what he's told to do. He's told to go out, execute, kick a punt 1,000,000 miles in the air, kick it up to the moon, and let our guys make a play. And that's what he did. He led the league in hang time. Mm-hmm. And that's design. That's by design. So I think you'll see a little bit more consistency this year. They brought in some competition for him. They waived the released the competition in Lachlan Edwards. So I think we're good. I think we'll be okay. If we hit week 4, week 5, and he's still got inconsistency issues, then we might start talking again about what's going on with Bojo. And you got to remember too, he was battling an injury last year.
Yep.
He was up and down all season with the injury.
8.8 yards per return last year. I mean,
which is not bad, right? It's not bad.
Okay,
how much?
10 yards?
Well, yeah. While you have it up, what was Andre Roberts' punt return average last year? While you have it pulled up, or while you're pulling it up, and then we're gonna hit Joe Smith's comment. What's your feelings about Josh Allen? Because that could be a pretty broad conversation piece right there. But I love it.
Yeah, so it says actually only 8 yards per attempt
for Andre Roberts
on returns. Yeah, 26.6 on kick returns.
Yeah,
so
average.
I mean,
average.
So the guy with the best special teams performer on the offensive end of special teams is getting around the average of what our guy's giving up, right? So I mean, that's not a huge number he's giving up, right? I mean,
right. All right, so Joe. I'm going to get to your comment because you guys have names coming in. All right, devastating defense. I mean, all right, rock with that. All right, so Joe Smith asked, "What's your feelings about Josh Allen?" That could be pretty broad. Colt, if you want to give some of your words of wisdom, because I can go on for hours about what this year means for Josh Allen, but I'll let you go first and kind of give us some insight.
It's funny, Rick, because Josh Allen he's the topic of all conversation this year all of a sudden, right? You've got everybody who's coming out saying, oh, he looks so great, he's going to blow up, this is going to be his best year ever. And then all the fantasy folks are like, oh, he's going to be terrible, he's going to blow up, he's going to be awful, he can't even throw the ball. It's like Josh Allen is the best he's looked for what we've seen, right? We're only getting the clips that people want us to see, right? I'm sure he's not hitting every throw and this, that, and the other, but from the stats we're seeing, the way the guys are responding and talking about him, I don't see how. Maybe we don't call it a blow up, but he's gonna go up way more than what he was last year.
Yeah, and so, and I've wanted to do some videos on this just because since Brandon Beane was officially named the general manager, I think that he's had this vision for what he wanted to do with this team. I think he knew early on that Tyrod Taylor wasn't the answer. No knock on Tyrod Taylor, because I was an early on believer in Tyrod early on, and then realized that it was time to move on. But I think that Brandon Beane realized that, okay, we don't have and haven't had with this franchise something that they've needed for years, since Drew Bledsoe, right? They need a franchise quarterback. All right, so a lot of people thought they made the wrong choice. A lot of people thought that we should have went with, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, Lamar Jackson, some of these other names. But ever since that day, I think that Brandon Beane said periodically from now until as long as I'm here, this team, my efforts, everything that we can do is going to be geared towards helping whoever it is that we deem our franchise quarterback. And as you've seen every year, pieces by pieces by pieces by pieces, they've basically given Josh Allen the keys to the castle and said, here you go, it's yours.
So they've built a very nice castle around him as well.
Exactly. Right? So it's like they have everything that he could ask for and then some, as far as the keys to be successful this year. So this is going to be the year. And everybody wants to talk about we're putting too much pressure on the kid. He's a raw talent. He's still growing. And that's all true. But look at what has been put on this roster to help him improve. If he doesn't take a step in the right direction like he did from 2018 to 2019, we're going to have a long year. If he kind of is still hitting the same, he's out there performing the way he did last year and hasn't improved, it's not going to be a deep playoff run. I mean, we may make the playoffs just based off of sure talent that we have on the roster, but I think that this is the year that Josh Allen doesn't have a typical third-year quarterback year. You've seen like the Jared Goffs and the Mitch Trubisky's in their third year, they kind of regress a little bit because they've gotten comfortable with their surroundings. They don't rely on as much as they did in the past, things like that. But Josh, just the will, the determination, the heart, the drive, the leadership skills, I think a lot of that stuff helps him fix some of the other little intangible things that he needs to work on, as far as, the checkdowns, the long ball. And you've seen he's fixed the mechanics on the long ball. And long ball looks great. But I'm expecting big things. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that he's going to come out and he's going to silence a lot of the critics. And you know what? If he takes 5 checkdowns a game, his completion percentage is 63% and shuts all of that conversation, all that noise up.
Right.
If he fixes the deep ball, I've said this in the past, the NFL is going to be put on notice. If he starts connecting on these deep passes, it's over. It's absolutely over, because if you give this team a lead, that we have the defense to shut things down.
Right.
But I'm glad you brought that up, because
leadership is the key, right? Because these guys that are around him are going to elevate their games just because they know that he is going to run through a brick wall for them. It's the same way that they follow McDermott, right? They're going to follow Allen the same way. And as he's elevating, even if he plays just a little better than what he did last year, I think you're going to see everybody around him elevate, and we'll make more plays. We'll get those catches we were dropping last year. We'll make that stop when we're supposed to make the stop.
Yeah, and you have to think too. So now he's got Devin Singletary and he's got Zach Moss. Dawson Knox, you got to think that he's gonna cure some of those drop issues. So he's got some safety blankets now.
Oh yeah,
he's got guys, and I guarantee you that Brian Dable is going to be in his ear and be like, "Look, if it's 3rd and 13, don't chuck the ball down the field into double coverage.
Right.
Pass it over the middle to Singletary. Let him get 8 yards and live to fight another day. You might put us in field goal range. You might do this. You don't need to play hero ball all the time. And that's what I love about Josh Allen. The determination to just be the best on every single play is what's going to make him successful. Ultimately, is what's going to make him and this team be successful. And we have a Super Bowl caliber defense. I don't think that anybody in here can deny that. If they improve based off of the pieces that they put in place on this defensive line, we're going to be better than we were last year. We were top 3 last year. And everybody's concerned with the second cornerback position, which I too am a little concerned. But when you have 3 other pieces that could be Pro Bowlers, all pros, it's okay. It's really okay. You know what I mean? It's really okay. And then here we go. I like this comment right here. Troy Aikman broke out his 4th year. I'm glad you brought up Troy Aikman, because go back and on the NFL Network today, they were showing the NFC Championship game. I believe it was 1992 with the Cowboys and 49ers. And it made me look, and that's so funny that you brought this up, because I looked at Troy Aikman's stats because they were talking about how he got in the Hall of Fame. Emmitt Smith got him in the Hall of Fame. Let's keep it 100. Troy Aikman, look at his stats compared to Jim Kelly's. Troy Aikman was a slightly above average quarterback. But you're right. In his 4th year, things made sense to him, and he took a big step forward. He had an amazing offensive line and supporting cast, don't get me wrong. Right. But I just don't like the comparisons I'm seeing about Mitch Trubisky and Jared Goff taking that 3rd-year regression, because the Bills have done nothing but surround him with better weapons than he had last year. So he should take a step forward.
I feel like so many people would have to make a regression for him to have a bad season.
Unless we have offensive line issues.
Yeah, something's got to give.
Which forces him to be nervous in the pocket and revert back to the running Josh, which I don't think is going to happen. Even if he gets nervous in the pocket, I still think we have the receivers that are going to get separation downfield for him. So
Beasley should be open just about every play if he really waits long enough and needs him.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to be like, I don't want to say Julian Edelman because he's not going to get nearly as many targets, but he's going to be that guy when it's 3rd and 5, 7-yard slant route, and Beasley's going to get a first down. That's what he did last year, and they had amazing chemistry. And Josh Allen, if you guys haven't seen it, Josh Allen came out when he had a Zoom conference, and he said that his absolute favorite receiver he's ever played with is John Brown, because he said he can tell he knows exactly where John Brown is going to be on every single route, regardless of if it's double coverage, regardless of if it's a blitz, whatever it is, John Brown's going to be there. And if you look at the rapport they had, the target rates and the drops, I think John Brown had 3 or 4 drops all of last season. So, and yes, I know he had one in the wildcard game when he stepped out of bounds. I get that.
Let's get in on this Joe Nelson combo here about where this offense is going to finish this year.
Let me scroll back.
I think we're going to be top 15 even.
Yes, top 10. I think top 10. What do you think?
I'm hoping we're top 10, but I don't feel like there's any way that we can't be a top 15 offense. We're in something went seriously wrong if we're not there, I think.
I honestly think that the first 3 games of the season are going to be first 2 games actually, because it's division games. So those are always tight games for whatever reason. But I feel like the Jets game, and I've said this before, the Bills are going to come and air it out to start that game. The Jets secondary is not good. Their defensive line is average right now. And they're banged up. They're banged up offensively and defensively. And I don't think that they can keep pace with the Bills. I think they're going to be pass heavy in the first half. Second half is when you're going to get Motor and Moss just hammering. And then with the Dolphins too, I'm not overly concerned about their offense either. I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to start. Okay, great. Offensive line is new. Defensive line, you got a whole bunch of new pieces in there. Secondary is not I don't even think the second or third best in the AFC East. And I think same thing. They're going to come out, light it up in the beginning, and then run the ball. And that's going to be the MO, I feel like, this year. And they have the two backs to do that. So
I think that should be our MO for every game, right?
Yeah, I think top 10 is definitely doable with the weapons that we have. And I'm not even going to say which is going to be a 50-50 split. There could be games where we run the ball 45 times. There could be games when we pass 40 times. Games against the Chiefs where we're going to have to score points, things like that. So Iron Mike with the lofty goals.
Yeah.
I love it, Mike. Here we go. Matthew Harmon, perfect. We have never been this loaded on offense. I agree. I was trying to go back and think. Now, Tyrod had some good receivers. Watkins, say what you want about him. Robert Woods, say what you want about him. But we saw what happened with Robert Woods when he went to the Rams. We had Goodwin. Or Marquise Goodwin. So say what you want, but those are three pretty decent receivers. Now, do I think that Diggs, Brown, and Beasley are better? Yes, I do. So absolutely right, man. All right, we got a Gilliam. Wonder if Gilliam will play or if we'll make a move for a fullback. I think he's going to play.
Yeah.
I think for like 5% of the playbook that calls to have a fullback in there, I think you'll see Gilliam. Now, that doesn't mean he won't be a healthy scratch, come game time. But I think if they have a game plan designed to have a fullback in there, I think he's going to play. And if they made him a tight end, that must mean that he has an ability to A, pass block, and B, catch the ball. So I think it'll be interesting. Great comment, man. Let's see what else we got. Oh, here we go. Oh, not that one. Dolphins got a few good corners. Yep, you're right. You're right. But I was looking for – Jets fans are obsessed with Josh Allen. So has anybody seen on Twitter the video of Sam Darnold throwing a pass to Dante Moncrief, who they cut today? It was like their highlight package. First off, it was an offensive pass interference. Second off, it was a wildly underthrown pass, and they kept replaying it over and over with music, and that was their highlight of their training camp. They just cut that guy, and it was a really bad pass. So Jets fans want to troll Josh Allen. Just wait till the New Jersey Jets want to troll Josh Allen. Just wait till week 1, and we'll shut them all up.
If they even have enough people for a roster, they just keep getting rid of everybody.
I'm not concerned with Tre'Davious White covering Chris Hogan. I'm really not concerned if that's the matchup that we have going in.
Yeah, I don't understand what they're putting together over there.
Their wide receiving core is bad. Denzel Mims I believe is back at practice, but it's like you had a whole offseason. And I know Joe Douglas wants to build his team with his draft players and his free agents, but you just brought Moncrief in. Was he that bad? Is he worse than anybody else that's on your roster? You have practice squad players that are going to be on your active roster.
Right.
And then you cut
the NFL, right? So you're getting a guy that can actually play in the NFL. But
here we go.
I'm okay with it.
Bill's own New Jersey teams. I agree. And then everybody wants to talk smack about Sam Darnold owns, now called Bills Stadium. He played the last game of the season there, and he played against Matt Barkley. So, and last time I checked, we had Isaiah McKenzie was playing cornerback. So,
yeah, offense, I was there. It was.
What are we doing?
The offense played like one series.
Yeah.
And the defense played one series.
Yeah, Cole Beasley, John Brown, Tre'Davious White, a few other guys didn't even play.
Yeah, it's
ideal situation for younger guys. Yep.
Is a Jets blowout misleading?
Absolutely not.
I don't
care. Yeah. I don't want to hear that it's an AFC East matchup. They're always close. We kicked the shit out of the Dolphins last year. The one game was close when we had the onside kick return for a touchdown by Micah Hyde. But we played the Jets a couple years ago, and Barkley put up 41 on them. So I got to think that they lost their best defensive player in Jamal Adams. CJ Mosley's out for the season. He opted out, right? They have some other injuries in the secondary. I don't like the matchup. If you're a Jets fan, I don't like the matchup against the Bills at all. And there's a Jets page that I am a subscriber to on YouTube, and they're scared shitless. They're extremely worried about Why does Frank Gore look better than Le'Veon Bell? That should absolutely never happen. Absolutely. If Le'Veon Bell is the guy that everybody's been preaching that he's coming back, why does Frank Gore look better than him? No knock on Frank Gore, because I think as Bills fans, we all loved what he was able to contribute last year. I loved having him on the team. He's a great guy. But I'm not worried about the Jets at all. I think we easily win. Vegas has the spread right now at 6.5. If you're a betting person, take the over all day, because I think it's a 2-score game at least. At least. Yeah, Darnold could barely score on the backups. Exactly. 100%. All about the Bills. Yeah. I can't think of the linebacker's name, but he was starting linebacker for him last year. I can't remember his name. They just released him. 4 letters. Gase.
Yay.
Crazy eyes. All right, guys, we're about getting ready to get out of here. It's been over an hour and a half. If you guys want, let us know. I can hijack Colt for 2 hours, and we can do 2 hours. If you guys want 2 hours, we can do 2 hours. I didn't even notice we almost hit 100 minutes here. So that's awesome. And it seems like the longer we're on, the more we got. I appreciate each and every one of you guys coming on here and rocking with us on Saturday night. Look for some cool stuff coming during the regular season, and I'm not just blowing some smoke up here. You know what? We're going to have a pre- and post-game show right here every Sunday. There's going to be a bunch of personalities on here from our group, from Built in Buffalo, so you guys get to meet a whole new gang of folks. So we can't look forward to that. I can't wait to look forward to that. Catch the replay if you guys didn't get to see the beginning of the show. It should be up on our channel here pretty soon. If you're watching on Facebook, like, comment, share. If you're watching it on YouTube, smash the ever-living shit out of the like button. I love you guys. Don't forget to subscribe. Colt, you got anything to say?
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Appreciate it. Looks like you guys had fun in the chat. That's what this is all about. You guys have fun. We just chime in. So thank you. Appreciate it. Be safe out there. Mask up. Defend your dirt, right? See you guys next time.
Defend all the dirt. All right. Love you guys.